I'm Max Esterhazen, editor of HokieHaven.com, and I'm here with publisher Jason Stamm. And we just got out of press conference, three of the coaches talking about the 2016 Virginia Tech recruiting class. And Jason, what were your initial thoughts of the recruiting class and what they said?
You know, I think there's definitely some hits and misses, as we all know, but the good thing with this class is a lot of early enrollees. So really the high-rated, the big-time guys in this class, they're already on campus. They're already in school. They're going to be here for spring practice, so may have the quarterback of the future, got some great offensive weapons. So lots of misses on signing day, probably not a good grade for signing day itself, but when you look at the class as a whole, I think it's a pretty good class.
We'll go over the misses a little bit later, but let's start with some of the hits. What about the quarterback?
Yeah, I think that Virginia Tech probably has their quarterback of the future in Gerard Evans. Number one junior college quarterback in the country coming out in this, the 2016 class. We've got him as a dual threat guy. I don't know if that's really a true label of him. I mean, I know if you ask him, he'd be the first to tell you he's a quarterback who just happens to run. A lot of the stuff he does isn't really design stuff. It's just kind of, he's good at ad-libbing and making something out of nothing so many times. So, but this is the guy that Justin Fuente handpicked. Now, he obviously was here before Brad Cornelison, the offensive coordinator, got to Virginia Tech. So, that's why it's not a done deal as far as getting in that offense. But Fuente's handpicked guy. He's got the time to get in here now. He'll have some competition from Brendan Motley coming back. Josh Jackson, probably going to be a redshirt guy, probably a guy you can look to maybe another year or two, maybe could be a guy to take that starting role. But, again, you're going to have some competition, so even right off the bat this spring.
What do you think the benefit of having a couple of those junior college transfers has on this Virginia Tech team going into the fall of 2016?
Yeah, I mean, a junior college guy, they've already had a couple years. Again, it's a junior college level. It's not quite the D1 level, but it's more fine-tuning and polishing. These are guys who, by this point, should already have most of their skill set developed. Whereas, high school, you get a lot of guys that are coming out of high school, still maybe raw, still maybe just got by on just natural talent, haven't really developed and refined their games. Junior college guys are a little more along those lines, a little more developed and refined. So with Evans and Dimitri Moore both, I think both, I don't know if Dimitri Moore is a starter, but definitely both of them are certainly going to be contributors this fall.
In the press conference, Bud Foster mentioned the need to grow up quickly in relation to defensive end. How do you see that playing out for the Hokies?
Yeah, I mean, I like Jimmy Taylor. I think he's a really good get at defensive end. Of course, they lose Daddy Nicholas, so Seth Dooley not being here this spring. Jimmy Taylor's going to get a lot of reps this spring because of Seth Dooley being out. So definitely an opportunity there for him to play as a true freshman. Not saying he will or not, but definitely an opportunity because of just kind of where they are overall in terms of depth and players that are available, I guess, for the spring.
The Hokies signed quite a few members of the offensive line in this class. Do you think that was a big need of the Hokies?
Yeah, I know that the question was asked about 5 offensive linemen, and I think typically, I remember Stacy Searle saying that a couple of times. That's kind of the number you shoot for. You don't really you want at least 4, 5, typically the number in each class to kind of balance out the classes, because you're always going to have, I'd say, 1 or 2 that either get hurt, don't make it through, so you need to have some other options. So, no really high-rated guys. Patrick Kearns, I think, is probably a good, an inside interior lineman. Thomas Jarrett Hopple, great size, still has a lot of room to work on his footwork, strength. Getting in a college weight program, I think, is going to make a huge difference for Hopple especially. But that's the same with a lot of these guys. They've got a lot of work to do even before we get to spring practice and fall practice with the off-season conditioning. So, but go back to your question, Max. I think five's about typically what you want. They got the number right this time, but I know they missed on a few. I think they'd like to have if they could do it all over again.
At the beginning, a few minutes ago, you mentioned that there were quite a few misses today for Virginia Tech. What surprised you about that?
Yeah, I don't know if there were any huge surprises. I mean, a lot of people felt really good on, and I felt really good on a bunch of these. I know a lot of our subscribers will attest to, that's why I don't like to put yes or no tags on all these guys, because they're 17, 18-year-old guys, change their mind all the time. But yeah, 7 of the 9 guys that did decide today, they were had Virginia Tech among their final list, decided to go elsewhere. Most of them were committed elsewhere, so they stuck with their commitment. I thought Tamon Fox was a bit of a surprise just because, he was a surprise to begin with that he was even in the picture. But for the last couple of days, coming off his visit, was very positive. Of course, that's the thing. A lot of these guys, these reporters and stuff, they talk to them coming right off a visit. Of course, you're going to say positive stuff. They get home, they think about it, they get talking to the coaches, things tend to change. But you look at Jaquan Bailey. I think he really threw everybody off with all his tweets and everything he put out. But the opportunity to play with his brother Josh at Iowa State, that was the difference. That's what it all came down to. Rick Wells, also a connection there with Tyree Cleveland at Florida. Of course, we talked about Jaquan Bailey. Dominique Ross sticking with UNC. Coney Durr sticking with Minnesota. So these are guys they were already committed. So it's not like it's a huge loss. I mean, you were trying to steal somebody, and they just couldn't steal them. But it's just kind of what happens. So you're going to have those hits and misses. This year has happened to me a few more misses than hits.
Moving on from the negative side of today, who do you think is going to be the sleeper of this Virginia Tech class?
I'd say I love Jared Hewitt. I know we have him 2 stars. I know he had, you look at him, he's a little short, 6'1", 6'2", but still about 290 pounds. Has a lot of bad weight that I think he's got to work on. He's got to not lose, but he just has to put on more good weight, get rid of some of that fat. And I think he'll do that. Again, he's another one of those guys, once he gets in a college weight program, I think he'll do great. I could see him as a big run stopper over the next couple of years. But again, kind of underappreciated, under-recruited guy, I think that's probably going to turn out to be a big-time athlete for him.
For Jason Stam, I'm Max Estrazen. Please check back on Hokieshaven.com for more coverage on Virginia Tech's 2016 National Signing Day.